Welcome to the Evolution Learning Show, a podcast focused on deep and real conversations with everyday students and the road towards independence. We all want to live a life with a purpose, not just any life, but our own life. And here's your host, co-founder of Evolution Learning, Sam Kwong.
Hey everyone, Sam Kwong here, and I'm very excited for this episode. In this episode, we are speaking with Taha Aamir, a former student of Evolution Learning and recent high school graduate in one of the most difficult years and uncertain situations in 2020. Taha shares with us his secrets to powering through uncertainty as a student in 2020, but in addition, he shares how his parents immigrated here in 2015 and the difficulties and struggle he had to face to adapt into a changing environment to making it into a top university in Alberta. He is now working in a direction of his own choice, studying his dream occupation in the pharmaceutical industry. This episode is packed with content that you don't want to miss, and we hope you enjoy and benefit from what Taha has to share. Enjoy. Going live in 3, 2, 1. Taha, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good. That countdown was pretty special. I never had that before.
No, it's good. No, it's always good to reconnect with you, especially during this, quarantine. And I think 2020 has definitely been a tough time. But, catch me up. Obviously, starting off, congratulations. You recently just graduated. At least from my perspective, it's probably one of the toughest year in 2020. You're going through quite a bit of things here.
Yeah, I mean, for the first few weeks, it was pretty bad. I think our quarantine started 1 week before spring break, and I think I got the message around in the middle of spring break that we're not going to continue school. So I was like, okay, maybe this is just a buff, or school's actually going to start back after spring break, because I was actually getting really nervous since this was my final year and I wanted to do really good in school to get into uni, right?
Yeah.
But as time progressed on, school wasn't really opening, so I came in terms with my reality, and after 2 or 3 months, I was like, thank God school didn't open, because what they did was that whatever our current grade was, that's what was going to be our end grade for the final year, right? And I was chilling.
Right.
I was in super well, so I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about anything. So
yeah,
it ended up being a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's I know you guys are probably just adapting to changes, but I mean, so catch me up, tell me a little bit about yourself now, right? So what's been going on, interests, hobbies, what school that you actually graduated from? Seton, if I remember correctly, right? I mean, give us a a background of yourself here.
So I came into Canada about 2015, if I remember correctly, from Pakistan.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the first year it was pretty bad. It was like a big culture explosion. I remember in the train looking at this person who wasn't really wearing full clothes, because I wasn't really used to that, right?
Yeah.
So I just kept on staring at that person, and then my mom told me, stop looking, right? Because in Pakistan,
stop staring at people, Tom. What the hell? Right.
This is Pakistan. This is what you do, right? Even if you catch someone staring at you, they don't stop staring at you. They keep on looking. They make eye contact and just stay making eye contact.
So Todd, catch me up here. So what I think is amazing is that you came here in 2015, which was literally 5 years ago. You speak perfect English. You're just trying to adapt into the situation here, right? And so help me understand here. So when you stare at people, right? I'm just trying to understand. So in Pakistan, they will actually just kind of stare at you, whereas when you come here, you're trying to stare at other people, or how does it work? Fill me in.
Yeah, so in Pakistan, there's not necessarily here's considered as disrespect if you stare at someone. They catch you staring at them and you still keep staring at them.
Yeah.
But there it's just whatever, right? If they catch you staring, then that's all good. This is mutual respect. So I guess that's what it is.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is there's definitely a culture shock, right? You were coming in
definitely
here.
Yeah, definitely. It was super bad. I remember my accent this one time. My friend told me about this 2 years later, that I was interested in volleyball in middle school, And I asked him, like, when I first came in grade 6, I asked him, where's a volleyball practice? And then that, because you're supposed to say volleyball, right? We mess up our V's and W's really badly. We say volleyball instead of volleyball, right? And he made fun of me for that throughout the whole year when I
Wow.
actually learned how to do it or speak English. I still can't speak English properly, but we're getting to it. So.
Hey, you're doing better than me, all right? So, and Taha, that's why, here's the thing. I love doing this podcast for a couple reasons, right? One, I feel like I'm never out of high school and I don't ever want to be, right? But don't
Right.
get me wrong,
Yeah.
there's definitely some stressful times, like point in case here, right? Where you're talking to me about how someone's making fun of you for your English, but it's like, hey, you're talking to them, I'm saying volleyball, right? Help me correct it. Don't make fun of me, right? But I mean, I'm just trying to understand here too, right? Because I know, obviously as English as a second language and all that, it's probably difficult, right? But did that set a fire in you where you're like, I'm going to pronounce it right? Or like, because I'm only saying that because you came in 2015, now it's 2020, your English is near perfect. If not, it is perfect, right?
Thank you.
But you seem like you went through some things. I mean, walk me through that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like it wasn't necessarily like a fire within me. It was just that, this is what I have to do for me to be successful, right? Yeah, I have to learn how to talk in these people's language. And it just came down
Mm,
to like a basic necessity that I needed to fill.
right.
So it just came with practice. It just came with, talking to people. And at the end, it just became like a fun memory that I have, right? That, I used to speak like my dad, right? Which he's still struggling with his accent, but it is
Yeah.
what it is.
So,
So, but
you're
I'm
saying
super grateful that I had that
it was like a
opportunity.
fun memory with your dad, or could you repeat that again?
Yeah, so I'm saying like the whole point of me like speaking English in an accent became like a fun memory, right? It
Ah,
it became like, I could laugh about it with my friends, I could talk about it with my mom, it all just boiled down to laughter,
yeah.
which is basically what life is. So
No, Todd, that's it. Honestly, that's something that I'm actually learning from you right now, and it's kind of an inspiration because back then, especially in high school, when people were laughing at me or like, you do some embarrassing things. We're all humans. We're not perfect, right? But I
yeah.
used to take it so hard on myself, right?
Mhm.
Some of the times it was like exams, right? When you're actually talking or working on something, and then in high school when everyone's like, "Oh, hey, what did you get on this test? What did you get?" And the people that ask you, they did very well.
Yeah,
Like the
definitely.
people that actually ask you get like 80s and 90s, and they're like, "Hey, what'd you get on the test?" Right? And then they're they're expecting you to ask them back. You know, dirty. That's a dirty move, right? Do you agree?
Yeah,
Or
definitely,
do you
man.
know what I'm talking about, though? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I met with this guy about like 2 days ago. My friend actually came from Toronto to here to visit me and some of his other friends, right? So he actually went to meet his other friend, and this guy, we knocked on his door, and we're like, "Yo, we were gonna go get something to eat. Are you coming?" And then he's like, "No, I'm studying." Right? I'm like, "It's middle of July. How are you still studying?" Right? I bet he wasn't studying. He's just trying to make us feel bad. So
Hey, there's always those overachievers, but hey, that's why, it drives us to being better sometimes, right? So it's like a
yeah,
double-edged sword.
definitely.
But Taha, I want to, kind of, dive in a little deeper because I feel like there's a lot that I'm learning from you and still learning from you here. And, I think I say that for a couple reasons. So you came in 2015 from a country that is so different, right, than Canada. And July 1st, happy Canada Day, by the way, buddy. And
Every time
so
I too.
I it's so different in Canada. I feel like, it's good to say this on this day, on Canada Day. We're so blessed, very
Of
multicultural,
course. Yeah.
a lot of people, diverse backgrounds. But I want to ask you this, like when you came in 2015, I want to dive deeper because you must have been going through a lot of things, right? So I'm just thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, it would have been junior high, right? That
Yeah.
you were
Grade
here.
6, I think. Yeah.
And so, walk me through. Were you pissed that your parents came here? Were you like upset? Was it different? Like, cause I'm just trying to understand. Cause if it was me, it's like, first of all, anyone with moving, especially at that age, right?
Yeah,
It's like, why are we moving? Like, because you must have formed friendships, you must have formed a lot
definitely.
of close connections, right? But walk me through that whole process.
Yeah, so I mean, as you said, I had a best friend that lived right in front of my house. So every day I used to like go to his house, we would play together, play cricket together.
Yeah.
So it was definitely hard moving, but over there it was seen as like a really good opportunity that you couldn't miss out, right? Because you're getting this golden ticket from moving from one like really trashy place to a really good one. So that kind of mentality, it didn't it like prevented me from thinking of this move as something bad or like something unfair. It kind of instilled in me this mentality of like, make sure that this opportunity is not gone to waste, right? Make sure that you do whatever it takes for you to be successful, right? Because my mom was a respected high school teacher. My dad
Mm-hmm.
had his own business, right? And they were both willing to leave those two really respected, well-paying jobs and businesses behind to ensure that I have a better future, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from then on, I just have this mentality of like, make sure that your parents' sacrifices are not gone to waste, right? I want to make sure that whichever dreams that they had that they couldn't fulfill because of me, I want to make sure that they get fulfilled, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I am right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So it feels as if there was this fire burning inside, and the fire that I'm actually saying is that you don't, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, right? But it seems like you, at one point, you don't want to let them down, you want to do well, right? And it seems like you know that they've made sacrifices, right? But I kind of want to go back to this as well, because I've never been to Pakistan as well. And you kind of use the word, I'm using the same word you used, right? So you said you went from a trashy place to, a place that is a lot better. Is it just the economic conditions, or is it, obviously, here's the thing. I've traveled to, not all over 197 countries, but like to 30 some countries, right? So I always think that there's kind people everywhere, but I think I do understand that coming back to Canada every time, I'm like, wow, we are so lucky, right?
yeah,
We're so
definitely.
fortunate, right? But thoughts?
Yeah, so it's just that over there, the whole education system, the whole economic system, the lifestyle, it was not up to par, right? I would rather say it was kind of dangerous living there. Like, you don't know if your water supply is well, you don't know
Mm-hmm.
if the food is getting is contaminated or not. I mean, we were much better off than most of the people there because my parents are so hardworking, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still like that kind of always reaching for something better for your kids, right? That kind
Mm-hmm.
of mentality, it when my parents were applying for the citizenship, they were like, okay, if it happens, it happens, but if it doesn't, then we still have a good life here. But
Wow.
as God would have it, it happened, and now I'm living in a much better situation than some of my friends there, right? And I talked to my friend recently from back home, and he described to me like his daily routine in exams, right? He would like wake up around 7 a.m., come home at like 4:30 p.m., head directly to his tuition classes until 9:30 p.m., right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you compare that to like a Canadian education system, it it seems like a bliss here. So I'm really grateful that we got this opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and that I have this mentality to make the most of it because I know some friends that don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm really grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. And because I guess you came later in junior high, so it wasn't like you were, you came here very, very early.
Yeah.
I I think even though those conditions, here's what I think, right? I think sometimes when you're put into certain situations and conditions that aren't fruitful, you come out of the other end as a stronger person. And do you feel like, coming from a different side of the world and now coming over here, you carried some of those traits? Or do you think that those traits developed when you first after you came here, and then you were like, you know what, I have to change my mentality, I have to change myself? But where did this all come from? Because it seems like, talking from you, and actually from what I know of you, Taha, you seem, like a very independent person, right?
Yeah. Um, thank you for that, but it's just, I guess, the traits part. I think it was definitely some traits I carried on from there. Not sure which ones, but you can't really do. You
You're
can't
like, I
really.
carried some bad ones too, right?
Yeah,
They're not
not
all
sure
good.
which ones, but definitely some because I'm still the person that I was when I lived in Pakistan. I
Right.
haven't. There's still some part of me that still lives on in me through that, right? But I feel like my integral change that came about was when I was about grade 11, grade 12. And then when I entered this academy, is you guys played an integral part in me realizing, I have there's like this whole system is it has flaws, but it's up to you to figure out your own path and your own destiny, and we're here to help that with you, right? And you guys are here to
Right.
help that with for me. So I'm really
No, hey,
grateful
you're
for that.
tying me back. Hey, don't toot my horn here. I think it was back. We met at the workshop, right? Where we had the
Yeah.
evolution learning workshop. Yeah, no, honest, like that's where we first engaged, and I was like, wow, a lot of independence, but I feel it's aside from, here's the thing, right? Taha, when we first met, we were, doing a lot of things on, educational development, but I felt like you were on a mindset where you carried a lot of empathy and gratitude, right? You know, when you actually do like have empathy and gratitude, I'll give you an example of that, right? It's like after every lesson you would come up and you're like, hey, thank you so much, right? And I was like, dude, you're already done, man. Like that, like when classes are done, usually the students actually just jet out and they're like on their way to doing their next thing, right?
Yeah.
But you come back after every class and you're always like, thank you so much, and then you leave and then you come back in the morning and you're always on time, punctual. And I was just like, this is a first, right? you know I was like, your mom didn't tell you to do this, right? It was you, intrinsically you, it was all you.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
No, it's good.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean, like as I said, that I think you made me realize a trait that I carried on from back home to here is that gratitude, right? Because you, I realized the difference in life, in the quality of life from there to here, and whenever I get an opportunity to improve myself and to reach up to the next step, I'm really grateful for that because a lot of my friends and my family don't, and
Hmm.
they're working really hard and they're not getting the pay that they deserve. So every time I get an opportunity to do something like this, I make sure that I thank the people who do give me this opportunity. So
Dude,
thank you.
no, thank you. Honestly, you're quite awesome here in Taha. And so here's the thing, walk me through, like, now that you're actually graduated, I want to pivot here a little, right? And so I think one of the most difficult things is, the road to independence for a lot of students, right? And for the road to independence, it's not just making fruitful of money, because that's kind of what I thought when I was in high school. I was just like always thinking, oh, I just want to get rich. I don't ever want to starve. I don't want to eat $2 pizzas anymore. I don't want to
Yeah,
just eat the. So back then, and I don't know if this is your time, but we had the McDonald's Monday to Sunday, and on Monday it would be like the Big Mac. I'm forgetting this, right? But Monday would be like the double cheeseburger, and then Tuesday
uh-huh.
would be the Big Mac, and then Wednesday would be the McChicken, and
Right,
then
right,
Thursday, and then Friday's always the filet o fish. They give, people what they don't want, right? I actually
right.
love filet o fish.
Yeah.
But they put it on Fridays because it's the busiest days. But I guess what I'm trying to get at here was, it's being the road to independence is so tough. And now that you're graduated, I want to understand. So what are your next steps here? Like what are your plans, right? After high school?
Yeah, so in line with the road of independence, I got admission to UFC and U of A, which I'm really grateful for.
Right.
But with whenever it comes to university, I want to make sure that it's something that could provides value into my life, right? Because a lot of people go into uni with this mindset of like, okay, I got admission, that's all I need to do, just get a degree and head out, right? But I want to make sure that this part of my life plays an important role into my success, right? Which is to become an independent. So even though I got admission to UFC, I decided to go to U of A just because I want to get that taste of living on my own.
Mm-hmm.
because from grade 5 or grade 6 onwards, my parents haven't let me work. They haven't let me, carry any responsibility because they wanted me to focus all my attention to getting into university, right? So after I've done that, I want to make sure that this whole 4 or 5 years that I have are dedicated to making me more independent, right?
Mm.
Whether that comes to like filing my own taxes or whatever it is, or making my own food because I don't even know how to do that yet, right? I don't
Yeah.
know how to cook my own meal yet.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it, but
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm pretty scared.
Yeah. And I mean, you're being patient with yourself at the same time right now, right? And so I think that's, something to kind of be proud of, because honestly, Taha, I wish I was at your level, I, I wish honestly, I always tell people this, I wish I could be 18 forever,
Right. Yeah.
I can age, and that, because here's the thing, that mindset is always like, there's always something, uh, to look, there's always something to look forward to at any age, right? But I think in high school there's so many things, and you're already experiencing that, right? And so one of the things you talked about was, obviously parenting, right? Parents. And you were saying that, hey, they really wanted you to focus on academics and didn't, allow you to work at all, right? And so was there an itch in your body where you're like, you know what, because you do you have friends, by the way, that work part-time jobs and all this, and like, what, walk me through that a little, because the only reason why I ask is because I wish, I don't say I wish, but like, I was, pushed out to work at like 14 or 15 years old, right? And I
Mhm.
got a totally different experience, and there's no right or wrong here, right? But
Yeah.
walk me through that. So you were never allowed to work. Did you ever want to work? I mean, do you think that if you were to go back, you would want that part-time job, like, you know?
Yeah. I mean, um, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I have friends that work part time, and what my dad's opinion about this was that you're gonna work your whole life, right? There's not gonna be a point where you're not gonna work. However, this is like an integral part for your future of like where you're gonna go, right? If you don't get admission to a good university, you're not gonna get anywhere. That was their typical mentality, right? I have seen friends that when it comes to working, I feel like there's like it's a double-edged sword because it can either teach you how to time manage your time properly, how to be on time, be part of a society, make connections and stuff. However, it can also like instill in you like a sort of like a stagnancy, right? If I'm making like $21 an hour working at some kind of dealership, I'm okay with that. Uh, and that kind of mentality is not going to let me get anywhere in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have friends that are like, okay, I'm gonna graduate high school and I'm gonna work this job because I like what I'm doing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of mentality of stagnancy is not really something that um I approve or I like.
Yeah.
So I really like how my dad kind of instilled in me this mentality of like whatever you do, make sure that it's something great, right? Make sure that it's something that impacts society. And a part-time job doesn't necessarily help you do that. However, focusing and working on your craft does. So
Mm.
I feel
Mhm.
like I'm really grateful for him for letting me stay home and, you know, focus on my craft.
Mhm. Mhm. And
Yeah.
when you talk about the quote unquote the craft, right? What would you say the craft is? Is the craft, getting into a good school, or is the craft more like focusing on, your career? Like what is the craft?
Yeah, so I think it's partly both. It's focusing on my studies as well as focusing on my personal growth.
Right.
I'm really grateful that I got the opportunity to join this club called JA, Junior Achievement. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, junior achievement. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. They do a
Yeah.
lot of great
So
things.
yeah, I joined that club and it made me realize that, I might have a talent for selling stuff, right? Everywhere that we used to sell our product, which is like soy candles, I used to be the one that would bring in the most sales, right? And it made me realize like, okay, I might have something here. This might be something of opportunity, right? So
Right.
ever since then, I've focused on, as well as my school grades, but however, focusing on how to connect with people as you are right now and how
Mhm.
to become a better talker, become a better speaker, reach in and add value to people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's
Mm-hmm.
so that's partly what my craft is right now as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think, it's great that you're teaching me so many things right now, Taha. And partly why I'm saying this is because, at least for my craft, I tend to be someone that, I'm doing this podcast right now. I used to be, when I look back a few years, I used to talk more than I listen, right?
Right.
And now I'm here, obviously as more of the interviewer, and I'm
Mhm.
really trying to be a better listener. And I think that's the craft I'm trying to master as well, right? Because,
Mhm.
you know, I feel like every word that you say, you're losing out on a few words that other people could be teaching you, right? So listening, or active
Right.
listening rather, right, is something that I'm trying to practice. And I'm only talking about this now because you kind of injected this thought into my head now. It's like, hey, Sam, what kind of craft are you trying to master now, right?
Right.
And part of that is attentive listening, having a
Mhm.
little bit more gratitude, sympathy, empathy as well, right? Because you only reach a level of empathy when you start to listen, like truly listen to people, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
hear how they are and understand. And so that's also something that's interesting. And Taha, I want to pivot to a question here where, you know, you're trying to master your craft now. You're trying to do a lot of things. Again, there's a new adventure ahead of you. So
Mhm.
U of A, University of Alberta, it's outside of the city that you currently live in, which is Calgary.
Right.
So I think that's a really big push towards independence. And as you know, with evolution learning here, we're really trying to create a world sustained by people working towards their passion. What does that mean?
Mhm.
That they're independent to do the things that they love, right? And so I want to ask you this, like, when was the first time you felt like you were independent, or even becoming independent at all?
Right. That was when I started working my first job. Um, I made this goal of mine in, I think, when high school ended,
Your
or even
first,
before that.
so wait. So Taha, your first job, but then I thought you weren't ever allowed to work.
Yeah, that's when my dad allowed me to work when I got admission
Oh,
to
okay. I thought you were doing it behind his back, and I was like, right on, Taha. That's the son. Like everyone's got to be a little bit rebellious here and there, right?
non-rebellious in different ways.
So okay, he let you work this job. You convinced him somehow. You worked your magic.
Yeah, so I made this goal of, like, after I got admission to U of A, I made this goal of making sure that my personal expenses that were towards university were paid through my own hard work. Right, I didn't want my parents, because they were willing to support me with my loans and whatever tuitions and stuff, right? But I wanted to make sure that whatever expenses that were catered towards university, I wanted to pay with through my own hard work, because I feel like it puts you in a place where you're more focused and you're more ready to put more hard work in, because it's your money
You have skin
that's
in the
at
game.
stake, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I made this goal of making, I don't know, like $10,000 by the end of this summer. So then at least my first year of university is paid.
Right.
So I took on this job. I'm doing deliveries on the side. I'm making my own online business.
Yeah.
That's all going towards,
Dude, this is Taha. You are a hustler at 18 years old, 19, 18. Right?
18. Thank you.
Okay, wait. Okay, so Taha, like, here, fill me in. You're hustling right now. So talk to me about these side jobs that you're doing. Walk me through. Because here's the thing. I love how you say, here's where I really wish, right? I wish I set more goals in 18, right? So hey, it's this is an inspiration. So yeah, walk me through, what are some of the things that you are doing now where you're setting that goal, you want to pay off at least your first year, you're setting that 10,000 dollar goal. What are some of the jobs you're doing? Fill me in, teach me.
Right. So I'm doing a job through Instacart. I don't know. Do you know about that?
Yeah, no, it's a San
Okay.
Francisco based company. I actually have a friend, Jolie, that works there, an Instacart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instacart. Yeah. So I'm doing deliveries for people for groceries, right? Because I thought it was gonna be good, because of the virus, right? No
Mm-hmm.
one's gonna go outside, go and sacrifice their health to get groceries. So I became an Instacart delivery driver for them, and I'm still doing that.
Right.
Um, And on top of that, I'm trying to start my own online Amazon business
Yeah.
through Jungle Scout. It's
Yeah.
basically like a Google extension that helps you figure out what product you have to launch and like what are the steps that you need to do to
Ooh,
make it.
drop shipping company.
Yeah, that one. So
Awesome.
I'm doing that as well. I'm in the process of making a business partnership with someone who's in Amway. Amway is a company kind of like Amazon, but it's a multi-level marketing company. It's basically like the more people that you recruit, the more money you get on your side. So I'm trying to do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, uh, the businesses haven't really been that much of help with financial support. I think the main contributor to that is Instacart. However, I'm so grateful that I'm getting to learn, from good people because through Amway, I actually made a connection with a mentor that was willing to, help me out in whatever aspect of life that I needed help in. So I'm really
Mm-hmm.
grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it seems like you're trying a lot of things right now, right? And so let me ask you this, Taha. So when, what, you know, what inspired you to do all this, right? Like you kind of just want to say, hey, you know what? I want to hold my own, right? And you're just like, you know what? I don't want to, it seems like you don't want the silver spoon. And that's something that used to think that I want. When I say used to, right? Back at any age, who doesn't like the meal handed to you, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm going to pay for your school, all that. I wish I had that. But now when I think back, I'm kind of the same way as you, where I actually don't wish I had that, because I actually had to work for all 4 years. I had 2 or 3 jobs as well. Totally understand that, right? But I think going through that now, would you say that, you working these part-time jobs, you feel like you're finally independent where you can make your own decisions? Or, where do you feel like the independence is coming from? Do you feel like you're making your own decisions? Or, how is that independence, following you?
Yeah, so independence, it basically came with the Instacart job and with the other businesses. Um, the
Mm-hmm.
aspect of independence that I feel like is most necessary or is of the most importance right now is financial independence, right? Because as I said before, I don't want my parents to pay for my university loans and whatever that stuff is, right? But that's where independence is coming from right now. I am still working on being socially independent and emotionally independent
Right.
because I haven't really lived away from my parents ever, right? So that's something that I have to get used to. And the businesses with Amazon and Amway are helping with the social independence because I'm
Mm-hmm.
making more connections. I'm making better friends that are better than me, which
Yeah.
will help me get me.
You're trying things.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
No, it seems like what you said here, or what I'm hearing, is that because you're trying things and you're making decisions, even if you slip or fall, you're
Right,
working towards a road towards independence, because you're learning how to deal with situations and outcomes that may or may not work in your favor, but you're calling the shot,
right.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Versus, kind of what you described before, like whether it's parents that shepherd you in one way or another, or whether, this, path was like created for you to walk through. Like now you're just saying, Taha, now you're just saying, screw this path, I'm going to carve my own path. Right.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm very
Okay.
grateful that I have that mentality now.
Yeah. Well,
Especially
hey,
at that.
no, it's trial and error, and no one's perfect, right? I don't think
Yeah,
anyone wants to try to be perfect. You want to just be easy on yourself, knowing that, failures are going to come up, but it's how you get back up and just keep grinding, right?
yeah,
Sometimes you have to crawl. You don't walk all the time or run, sometimes you got to crawl your way there,
definitely,
right?
definitely,
So,
for sure.
I mean, Taha, I have I think it's a good question, but a curious question too. I find that high school can be very tough, and it's amazing that at 18 you're doing so many different things, right? I want to understand, like, high school now in 2020 compared to what it was before must be so different. Talk to me about what you think, whether it's through, your friends or yourself. Like, what are some of the biggest stresses for a 2020 new grad or a high school student that is going through school today?
Oh man. Yeah, I'm actually talking to my brother about this right now. He's going to grade 11.
Okay.
So I think the main stress is basically what do I want to do, right? Like I never really had the opportunity of well, aside from Evolution Learning Academy, I never really had the opportunity to figure out what I wanted to do because, with everything that they put on in high school, from workload to extracurriculars and whatever it is, you don't have that, or spare time to figure out like what it is that I really want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because of that, I've seen so many of my friends that are in university drop out because they took the wrong course and because they can't afford to go back because they spent all their money in doing something that they didn't really have a passion to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that's basically one of the biggest stresses that there is right now
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to high school.
Is finding that direction,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. I mean,
Like,
hey,
yeah. And I feel like
you're preaching to the choir. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say that like Evolution Learning Academy, they set up a foundation for me to figure out what I wanted to do, and on top of that, JA came in, and that really gave me like a really solid direction into where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm. Taha, I'm not paying you to say this, man. Like you don't have to, you
I'm
don't
not.
actually have to
I'm not
like,
saying this. I'm
I
not
feel
saying
like
this
you
just
keep
because.
rubbing me, but like I don't know, man. I'm not paying you a single dollar. This is not even pre-gamed or pre-screened at all.
No, This is from the heart, man. This is actually from the heart.
I
I'm
love you,
actually
brother.
really. I'm.
That means a lot. Yeah.
I'm actually really grateful that I forget her name, but I forget who.
Oh,
What,
Amanda. Yeah, there was a lot of people on the team, and like you kind of. Here's the thing, you try things. You know what I mean? And I think for evolution learning, why I said you're preaching to the choir is because I had this stress where I looked at some of my friends and I was like, what is university and why do people even want to go here?
yeah.
And then I just circled a few bubbles and like I kind of went, and that's why I'm so passionate about kind of what I do now, because in high school it's do your math, do your physics, do your biology, do your chemistry, get good grades, right? And then you have this thought like, okay, I'm going to make it somewhere, right? Don't get me wrong, the teachers that I've had were amazing, right? But in a class full of 35 or 40 and one teacher, how much time and attention do you really get, right? And most importantly, right, you go through 12 years of school just so that you could set your foundation, but then yes, it's tough. And by no means, it's not the school's fault at all. It's just the system, right? And kind of what it is. And I think that you've actually tried, you tried something, right? And so, where are you, what did you decide to take now at U of A?
I decided to take pharmacology. That
Dude,
that kind of
hey, that's what you were saying,
yeah.
right?
That's what
Pharmacology.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I felt like pharmacology is probably the best route for me because it involves both, the business aspect that I really enjoy and the science aspect that I really enjoy. It's all combined into one degree, which is most likely going to be perfect for me. So, and about the school thing, for English, we had to make a speech about some random topic, right? And I chose is school really teaching us correctly? And I got a 95 on that project.
What?
It came from the heart, man. I roasted school so much in that speech, man. It was about 10 minutes long. It was just all about what's bad with school.
10
So,
minute. Wow. Okay. Give me the short version. So correct me if I'm wrong, Taha. You wrote a speech bashing about school in English
in
as one of
English,
your
yeah,
final speeches, and you got
yeah,
95% on it.
yeah.
Give me the punchline, give me the thesis, because I gotta take some notes.
Oh.
This is awesome, Taha.
Yeah, so I compared school to like what happened in like 100 years. I'm pretty sure there's a video online of Princey A, and he has the same topic, and he shows like from 100 years of what has evolved, right? He shows cars, he shows cell phones, and then he shows school, which has been the exact same throughout the whole 100 years. Absolutely nothing has changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I compared our school system to the one in Netherlands,
Right.
or Sweden. I forget which country it was, but
Mm-hmm.
over there, what they focus on is rather than competition, they focus on collaboration. And because of that kind of mission statement that they have, their school system outperforms every other school system in the entire world. So they have shorter breaks, they have no homework, they don't have any tests at all,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with that kind of method, what they've achieved is that their school system is number one in the entire world. So, and then I put in like they treat teachers how we treat our doctors. So my teacher would be would also be um,
Mm-hmm.
with my opinion as well. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was basically what the premise of it was.
Wow. You know what I appreciate though, Taha? And I think they probably appreciate this too, right? Because in school, I think, again, not every school is like this, but at least most schools in Canada, they appreciate that you have an opinion, you know?
Right.
That a lot of the topics that they have, right, in English are really big thoughts, right? Idealism versus realism, right? There's, you go through you know, a lot of different types and forms of writing to get your thoughts out. But at the core of it, they want you to have an opinion, and yours is just stronger. At least you voiced it out. Yours is just stronger, than most, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because people, here's the thing, sometimes there's a lot of people that bash about the school system, and they kind of talk about it between their friends, and they're like, yeah, this sucks, this
Yeah,
sucks, that sucks, right? But you formulated a thesis and built a case and supported it with references,
yeah.
and then crushed it, and you use that mark to get into pharmacy.
What can I say? What can I say?
Yeah. No, this is awesome. And so, I guess what I hear from that is, the stress when I ask you what you're saying is that a lot of people are really just trying to figure out what they want to do, why they want to do it, and how, right?
Mhm.
Um, looking back for you though, what would you say your biggest stresses are? Right? I get that you said that, like a lot of your friends are going through that. And take some time to think about it if you need, right? But in high school, or even now, right? Now that you're out of high school, right? What do you think are the biggest stresses that impact you, Taha, as a person or in life right now that you're going through?
Yeah, so in high school, it was basically, I feel like it was kind of forced on me a bit because every single one of my friends was stressing so much about university, right?
Right.
So I remember like in January when they first released admissions to U of A and I didn't get in and that bashed or conquered my confidence so much, right? Because I put in so much effort in that whole school year. But I just
Mm-hmm.
learned that from my dad. I talked to my dad about it and he said that whatever it is, right? Just don't give up. Just keep working, right? And so that kind of helped me with that stress. Another stress that I would really uh, thought or that I had in high school was basically like, how am I going to figure out this next transition, right? How am I going to, when I go to university or if I go to university, how am I going to, you know, make sure that transition is successful and like make sure that these 4 years are dedicated to my own personal growth and to my own personal success, right? That was one of my biggest stresses too, because, I don't really know how university is like. I've never been there. I've never studied a class, right? So that kind of uncertainty for the future, it's what put a lot of stress in me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, exams, tests, projects, making friends in clubs, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Nope.
uh, that
It's okay.
that was that was just a calling up first, sorry, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what kind of put a lot of stress and uh, what's it called? It removed a lot of my sleep, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I guess so how did you get over that then? Did you just power through by working, or did you just power through by just keeping your head in the game? Like how did you get over that stress? Because I feel like when you're talking about it now, that rock is kind of off your chest.
Yeah, definitely. It's partly because I got admission into the university I wanted, and I know a lot of friends that didn't, and I don't know how they cope with that because I haven't really been a part of that circumstance, right? But I feel like right now with transitioning into university, I feel like it's just you have to take it step by step, right? Set goals for yourself, do tasks that are productive every day so you don't feel like you're wasting your time, right? And so for me, like I said, my first goal right now is to, somehow make $10,000 so then I can generate enough money for my first year of university, right? So just
Mm-hmm.
like creating step by step goals, working towards them, and staying consistent that's what basically helped me out with
Mm-hmm.
my current rock that's on me right now.
No, this is awesome. And I think Taha, you're just going through, the first little phases. And I think that's another reason why I started this podcast as well, right? Early on, with evolution learning and, speaking to not just, high school students, but alumni. And I feel like there is so much to learn. But at least I'm speaking in my opinion, right? Sometimes when I felt like I was in high school, whether I talked to an adult or whatever, I felt like my voice was kind of suppressed. And when I say
Right.
suppressed, it's like, when you talk to that adult, it's like, oh, hey, you're in high school. What do you know? Even if they don't say
Mhm.
it, that you can kind of sense that they're thinking
Yeah,
that. You know what I
definitely,
mean? It's like
definitely.
you can kind of sense that, but I'm learning so much, and I'm super thankful for you even spending this time, to walk through that with me.
Thank you so much. I'm super thankful for giving me this opportunity, right? I told my friends that I'm gonna be on a podcast, and they're like, "What? You're gonna be on a podcast, really?" So I got to,
What? So you told your friend, and that, so what, yeah, what, like, you didn't even see, like, when I asked you, because I was just like, hey, I really just wanted to learn from you. I wanted to catch up from you, right? And you were
right.
just like, yeah, were you nervous at all?
Definitely, because I've heard a lot of podcasts, right? And there's a lot of people that don't know or they stutter a lot, like I'm stuttering a lot. So that was kind of, put a lot of pressure on me. But, as I said before, I'm working towards, making connections with people,
Hmm.
learning how to talk better. And this was just not another opportunity that was in my path. So I'm really grateful that you offered me this opportunity.
Dude, and you're trying things. That is, one of the most amazing things. And so, I think we're about to wrap up here, Taha, but before I do, I want to ask you a couple questions, right? Before I end it off. Number one, so Taha, to summarize, you came here in 2015 from Pakistan, completely different. You powered through it, you
Mhm.
made it into a school, very reputable pharmacy school, U of A, not easy to get into, the University of Alberta, the capital of Alberta, right,
Thank
in
you.
Edmonton. What is next for Taha? What is your, aside from the $10,000 goal that you set, like, what is next for yourself?
It's just like how you said to me, becoming more independent, right? Whatever it is that's part of becoming more independent, I want to be better at that, whether it's social, financial, emotional, whatever it is. I want to make sure that I am well enough so that I'm that independent so that I can take care of my parents, right? That's just what I want to do right now. And on top of that, I want to make sure that these two business opportunities that I have right now become successful and become, something that I can maybe reach for to other people that can help add value into their lives, right? So
Mhm.
that's where I'm currently at right now.
Taha, that is so awesome. What I heard from you is paying it forward. And I don't know if your parents are going to be listening to this at all, but I think if they are, they should be very damn proud that they have a son like you, one that is not only paying it forward, but paying it back for them,
Oh, let me go get
you
them
know?
real quick.
And
No,
so,
just kidding.
and so, hey, I just really think that they definitely should understand that, because sometimes a lot of parents don't understand, right? Because
Right,
students are going through so much, their kids are going through so much. They just want to prove to their parents that, hey, it's like, Dad, Mom, look, I'm making you proud, right? They want
right,
that validation. And I think for you, regardless if they're validating or not, Taha, I'm kind of just saying, like, you really got your head on your shoulders. And, I think that there's going to be a lot of things going on for you here. And so I'm just excited when you become that pharmacist. I'm going to be, I know I'm saying this live, I'm going to be buying legal drugs from you. Okay.
Well, I hope you don't need them. So
just say, don't feed me the wrong ones when I turn crazy one day. Okay. Taha, this was truly, truly a blessing. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time here. This was a great episode, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, man. I really appreciate it. And I get to brag about this to a lot more friends now.
Hey, no, share it. I think a lot of them, if they were to tune in, they got a lot to learn from you. You probably got a lot to learn from them. All right. And so I think, as we always say in evolution learning, let's just learn from each other and build a community where we can all get closer to what we find purpose and passion in.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for, staying with me throughout this whole years. And I think we met in grade 11, beginning of grade 11. And, whenever I needed your help, whenever I needed a reference, whenever I needed anything, you never hesitated to give it to me. And I really appreciate that you've done that for me in my life, man. Thank you so much for that.
Taha, it was you work hard. It's horizontal relationships. We're friends, okay? There's no hierarchy in this. That's what friends are for. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
All right.
Love you, buddy. See you next time.
See ya.
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode on the Evolution Learning Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like and share this episode with your network or subscribe to the channel. You can also find out more about us on www.evolutionlearning.org. See you in our next episode, and until next time, take care of yourself and each other.